Ramona, Chapter 1, Part B. Yes, Ramona was ready to forgive him for kicking her seat. The boy grinned as he jerked down the visor of his baseball cap. That grin was too much for Ramona. She said with her most ferocious glare, and faced front once more, angry at the loss of her new eraser, angry with herself for dropping it so the boy could find it. Purple cootie, she thought, and hoped the cafeteria would serve him fish portions and those canned green beans with the strings left on, and apple wedges, the soft mushy kind with tough skins, for dessert. The bus stopped at Cedarhurst, Ramona's new school, a 2-story red brick building very much like her old school. As the children hopped out of the bus, Ramona felt a little thrill of triumph. She had not been carsick. She now discovered she felt as if she had grown even more than her feet. Third graders were the biggest people, except teachers, of course, at this school. All the little first and second graders running around the playground, looking so young, made Ramona feel tall, grown up, and sort of, wise in the ways of the world. Danny shoved ahead of her. He yelled to another boy. Something small and pink flew through the air and into the second boy's cupped hands. The boy wound up as if he were pitching a baseball, and the eraser flew back to Danny. Encumbered by her lunchbox, Ramona chased Danny, who ran, ducking and dodging among the first and second graders. When she was about to catch him, he tossed her eraser to the other boy. If her lunchbox had not banged against her knees, Ramona might have been able to grab him. Unfortunately, the bell rang first. Yelled Ramona, her name for the sort of boys who always got the best balls, who are always first on the playground, and who chase their soccer balls through other people's hopscotch games. She saw her pink eraser fly back into Danny's hands. She yelled again, tears of anger in her eyes. The boys, of course, paid no attention. Still fuming, Ramona entered her new school and climbed the stairs to find her assigned classroom, which she discovered looked out over roofs and treetops to Mount Hood in the distance. I wish it would erupt, she thought, because she felt like exploding with anger. Ramona's new room was filled with excitement and confusion. She saw some people she had known at her old school. She saw others were strangers. Everyone was talking at once, shouting greetings to old friends, or looking over for those who would soon become new friends, rivals, or enemies. Ramona missed Howie, who had been assigned to another room. Wouldn't you know, that yard ape, Danny, was sitting at a desk, still wearing his baseball cap, and tossing Ramona's new eraser from one hand to the other. Ramona was too frustrated to speak. She wanted to hit him. How dare he spoil her day? Said the teacher. Ramona was startled to hear her class called "you guys." Most teachers she had known would say something like, "I feel I am talking very loud. Is it because the room is noisy?" She chose a chair at a table at the front of the room and studied her new teacher, a strong-looking woman with short hair and a deep tan. Like my swimming teacher, thought Ramona. Said the teacher as she printed her name on the blackboard. W-H-A-L-E-Y. I'm a whale with a Y for a tail, she laughed, and so did her class. I think it's so great that she's Mrs. Whaley, just saying. Anyway, then the whale with a Y for a tail handed Ramona some slips of paper. She directed, Ramona did as she was told, and as she walked among the desks, she discovered her new sandals squeaked. Squeak, creak, squeak. Ramona giggled, and so did the rest of the class. Squeak, creak, squeak. Ramona went up one aisle and down the other. The last person she gave a slip to was the boy from the bus, who was still wearing his baseball cap. She whispered. He whispered back with a grin. Ramona stared at her feet. Bigfoot? Bigfoot was a hairy creature 10 feet tall, who was supposed to leave huge footprints in the mountain snows of southern Oregon. Some people thought they had seen Bigfoot slipping through the forest, but no one had ever been able to prove he really existed. Bigfoot indeed! Ramona's feet had grown, but they were not huge. She was not going to let him get away with this insult. She said right out loud, realizing too late that she had given herself a new nickname. To her astonishment, Yardape pulled her eraser out of his pocket and handed it to her with a grin. With her nose in the air, Ramona squeaked back to her seat. She felt so triumphant that she returned the longest way around and bent her feet as much as she could to make the loudest possible squeaks. She had done the right thing. She had not let Yardape upset her by calling her Bigfoot, and now she had her eraser in her hand. He would probably call her Superfoot forever, but she did not care. Superfoot was a name she had given herself. That made all the difference. She had won. Ramona became aware that she was squeaking in the midst of an unusual silence. She stopped mid-squeak when she saw her new teacher watching her with a smile. The class was watching the teacher. Said Mrs. Whaley. Of course, the class laughed. By walking with stiff legs and not bending her feet, Ramona reached her seat without squeaking at all. She did not know what to think. At first she thought Mrs. Whaley's remark was a reprimand, but then maybe her teacher was just trying to be funny. She couldn't tell about grown-ups sometimes. Ramona finally decided that any teacher who would let Yardape wear his baseball cap in the classroom wasn't really fussy about squeaking shoes. Ramona bent over her paper and wrote slowly and carefully in cursive, Ramona Quimby, age 8. She admired the look of what she had written, and she was happy. She liked feeling tall in her new school. She liked, or pretty sure that she liked, her non-fussy teacher. Yardape, well, he was a problem, but so far she had not let him get the best of her for keeps. Besides, although she might never admit it to anyone, now that she had her eraser back, she liked him. Sort of. Maybe she enjoyed a challenge. Ramona began to draw a fancy border, all scallops and curlicues, around her name. She was happy, too, because her family had been happy that morning, and because she was big enough for her family to depend on. If only she could do something about Willa Jean.